Nana is one of the most popular shoujo mangas in the entire world. The series was released in 2005 and was so widely loved it even spawned an anime, live-action movie, and a few games. Despite Ai Yazawa putting the manga on hiatus in 2009 and fans having to accept a manga without an end, Nana is still talked about to this day. Nana deals with a lot of heavy subject material, some in good ways, some in bad, but one character that will always spawn infinite conversations about her is the main character, Hachi or Nana Komatsu. Hey, it's Nana Plays Games, aka MPG. Hopefully my channel name didn't fool you. I like to yap about a lot of things. Anyway, Hachi is a character that latches onto everyone she meets, like Junko and eventually Nana, but her relationships with men leave much to be desired. She's quite insecure in her relationships and doesn't quite know how to handle being alone or being emotionally independent. This leads to her life and the lives of others being negatively impacted in some way, shape, or form. I'm here to explain why codependence not only has dire consequences for Hachi, but also for the real women and girls like Hachi. Many people may think she's unrealistic or a greatly exaggerated character, but I don't think she is. Dare I say she's even relatable. The life Hachi lived is a life a lot of women can relate to, maybe minus the famous punk rock bands. There's a lot to cover, so let's get started. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you don't need an overview of Nana, but I'll give you one anyway. Two young women with the same name Nana meet on the same train going to the same place, meet at the same apartment looking to rent it, and decide to move in together. Despite the similar circumstances that caused them to meet, the two Nanas couldn't be more different. Nana Osaki is an aspiring, sarcastic, and seemingly confident punk rock star. Nana Komatsu, nicknamed Hachi, is a sweet, kind-hearted yet naive small-town girl who comes to Tokyo looking to follow her friends and become more independent, but gets more than she bargained for. The two girls have a total black cat and golden retriever relationship, and they become inseparable as they lean on each other through thick and thin. Some may even say that they were really good friends. Spoilers, this does not last forever. They meet a colorful cast of characters, all with their own quirks, but drama quickly ensues in the form of relationship strains and tragic events. Hachi, the manga's primary protagonist, gets into her own fair share of drama, ending in painful consequences for both her and some of the people around her. This is all due to a little thing called codependence. According to the Oxford Dictionary, codependency is excessive emotional or psychological reliance on a partner, typically one who requires support on account of an illness or addiction. Hachi is more or less quite literally the definition of codependence. All of the relationships she forms with other characters in Nana are unhealthy to some degree, and her ability to sit alone with her emotions is, well, not great. She constantly needs someone to lean on, and while it's human nature to need friends to depend on every now and again, every single problem she has ends with her latching onto someone to support her. Even outside of her problems, Hachi just needs someone to counter the overwhelming amount of loneliness that she feels. Her being called Hachiko is not just a cute nickname, it's a representation of how outwardly dependent she is on the people around her. I will say, she's smarter than people give her credit for. It'd be completely unfair to say that she's a lost cause or that she's 100% incapable of seeing a situation for what it is. Characters in Nana tend to greatly underestimate her and treat her like a child, which I think enables her behavior. Even so, Hachi is responsible for a lot more than this statement indicates. Alongside this, the decisions she makes aren't exactly in her best interest whatsoever due to her indecisiveness and inability to handle big changes well. Her choices, mainly one in particular, causes a bit of a domino effect. So let's explore the relationships she's had, some of the choices she made, and why she made them. Hachi's first relationship was with a 30-year-old man named Asano, who was married, with children, when she was 17. He does not set a good precedent for how relationships should be, obviously. Their relationship, if you can even call it that, was strictly physical, and he does end up leaving her because it's not convenient for him anymore. This abandonment shatters Hachi's heart and definitely leaves some emotional scars that would have been there no matter how the relationship ended. Not only was Hachi groomed by Asano and manipulated into a physical relationship, but she was also left to mend her broken heart alone. I don't even think she realized how harmful the relationship was based on how she reacted to Shin and Reiwa's relationship. Even so, things that we can't see are recognized harmless in the long run. In Hachi's case, I think this breakup increased her desire for someone to love and care about her. It could also be that because she went to an all-girls school, she didn't quite know how to interact with boys in a healthy way. It's common for people who go to a single-sex school to become enamored by the opposite sex, assuming they're attracted to them, but not know how to interact with them. Hachi is sort of boy crazy and had barely any outlet for her idealizations, leading to certain situations that ended up hurting her. After basically being thrown to the side by a man she was enamored with, it's no surprise how she ends up behaving in other relationships. Speaking of which, her next relationship is with Shoji, whom she meets through Junko and Kyosuke. Their relationship takes a bit to finally get off the ground, with the two dancing around the subject for a while. After seeing both of them, I immediately knew these two weren't gonna last. I thought that was clear as day, but to actually be in Hachi's situation could have been disorienting. Shoji seemed, I don't know, indecisive, wishy-washy, unsure of their relationship's longevity. I'm genuinely surprised they lasted the year that they were apart. They were, in my opinion, much better as friends. You can see that when they're casually talking, before and after their relationship, their conversations are so much lighter. It did not seem like their romantic relationship was authentic or going to survive any major bumps in the road. And it didn't. Neither one of them knew how to keep their relationship afloat, and it didn't even seem like they had very much to do together other than have sex. Many relationships in real life also have no real connection other than the penetrative or oral kind. This is not enough to make a relationship last, nor is it an indicator of love. Still, when you love someone, it can be hard to recognize when they're not the one for you. This is especially true when you're easily overcome by a suffocating loneliness like Hachi. Many relationships I've seen, whether it be online or in real life, have overstayed their welcome, let's just say that. Romance is not easy, and even when you can see the breakup coming, Hachi was clearly blindsided by her relationship's end. I think a lot of people would be. Shoji is not the worst guy Hachi runs into. I mean, you got Predator 1 and Predator 2, but their relationship being the equivalent of stale bread is not the only thing wrong with it. Of course, their relationship ended sourly, to say the least, but Hachi was more independent than she'd ever been before and had a life outside of Shoji. Now, it's fair to say she was selfish in putting her needs before Shoji's, but to say she was completely neglecting him is false. To make himself look good and like he wanted the best for Hachi, Shoji encouraged, kind of forced her to move out and get a job. Yet as soon as she does, he complains that she got her own place in a job and she doesn't have enough time for him. This was after she expressed wanting to live with him, after she spent hours cooking and cleaning for him, after spending several hours traveling to him. This, in my opinion, is the case of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Had Hachi stayed with Shoji, he would probably have thought that she was being a burden and not earning her place in Tokyo. Since she moved out, got a job, and made friends outside of their mutual group, the two would see each other less. Naturally. A lot of women in real life are expected to do it all, and while in her relationship with Shoji, so was Hachi. I don't think there was anything she could have realistically done to make their relationship end differently. Don't get me wrong, she was not the best girlfriend to him, she was selfish and too caught up in her own life, but to say she should have saw the cheating coming is fucked up. It could be because of how independent she was during her relationship with Shoji, she thought she could change into someone more passive and malleable in order to be more desirable. Okay, maybe that's a bit of a reach, but it's just a theory. Heartbreak can seriously affect people, and in this case, the reader can see that in Hachi. I think it's commendable that she leaves Shoji and doesn't even bother fighting for him, but I also think it's because she was too shocked and overcome with emotion to do so. People who are suddenly made aware that they were cheated on often have one of two reactions: overcome with depression or overwhelmed by absolute rage. In Hachi's case, you see her exhibit some suicidal thoughts, representing just how rattled and saddened she was by Shoji's infidelity. Hachi is then bombarded by harsh criticism from Junko, which I will always feel some type of way about. Junko is a good friend. I do believe she loves Hachi, but it definitely seems like she blamed Hachi for the breakup between her and Shoji. Not only the breakup, but the cheating as well, saying she neglected her duties in the relationship as if Shoji was trying all that much harder. You also see that Junko isn't as harsh with Shoji as she is with Hachi, possibly because she doesn't feel like she needs to be, but still. Junko even knew Shoji was leading on Sachiko and getting uncomfortably close to her. I know it would have been immature for her to take sides, but for Hachi to have to find out about the cheating the way she did was nothing short of absolutely traumatizing. I also don't think Junko's initial quote-unquote reality check the day after the breakup was good for Hachi. It didn't do anything to help her healthily self-reflect or dwell on her decisions. A lot of women in real life often get blamed for getting cheated on for lacking the superhuman ability to do, well, everything. Hachi could have done more, of course, but she did not deserve that. And after finding out she was cheated on, she blames the Demon King, and while in this relationship I don't think it ending was her fault, she blames this figment of her imagination for a lot of the consequences of her bad actions. It just reminds me of when girls say someone is preying on their downfall. I think it's just their bad decisions coming back to bite them, but I digress. As well as blaming the Demon King, Hachi also blames herself, implying it's karma for her having a relationship with a married man. The fact that she's still unable to see the reality of what her previous relationship really was and thinks that it's the cause of her current one blowing up in her face is concerning and really sad. She swears off men for the rest of her life, but I knew that wasn't going to last. Her next relationship, which is with Takumi, is, well, it's a mess. Her love and admiration for him keeps her wrapped around his finger, and it's clear that he doesn't care all that much about her outside of her looks and easy sex. She seems to like being with Takumi despite his scummy nature, and it's not until she gets a taste of the relationship she actually wants with Nobu that she breaks up with him, sorta. Hachi is the master of miscommunication and could have been more clear about her desire to move on from Takumi. It's clear he doesn't take her declaration seriously, and even though I still think he should have fucked off, I can understand why he thought they were still together. Anyway, this discomfort with being alone and possibly feeling like she finally figured out what would make her happy is probably why she hops from Takumi to Nobu. Her relationship with Nobu is sweet, but fairly brief. Though Nobu is quite honestly the best partner for Hachi, as he gives her a taste of, well, the bare minimum, one of her previous choices would come back to end their relationship. Codependency also brings about impulsivity, which can be seen when Hachi first finds out that she's pregnant. She decides to keep the baby, but clearly she needs to think about who the father is, considering the time between her relationship with Takumi and the present day is short. Many people have their own thoughts about her leaving Nobu, but I think she does so because Nobu is unable to give her the affirmation she so desperately needs at that moment. This is compared to Takumi somehow knowing what to do, how to handle Hachi, and claiming to want to be in the child's life. Hachi also comes with deep-rooted insecurities that contribute to the decisions that she makes. We see this in how she presents herself and constantly worries about her appearance and how she comes across to people. At the time, she might have been thinking Nobu would be disappointed in her or think of her as a burden, so any room for doubt in her mind would have been absolutely agonizing and unbearable. It could have also been awful for Hachi to imagine that Nobu would do anything for her, even if it meant giving up on all his dreams and aspirations to take care of her and the baby. It's not ultimately why she chooses Takumi, but I think plays a role in her decision. Should I also mention that pregnancy can change your hormones, with the chance of basing your decisions on emotions rather than logic? It's like a weather forecast that's wrong every day. Pregnancy is a huge realization to be suddenly hit with, and it's even worse that she felt like she messed up everything when she finally had her prince in her hands. To be fair, it's her decisions that led her here. I understand her being captivated by Takumi and pursuing a relationship with him. At first. It's not crazy to think she'd want to be with him, maybe a bit shallow, but not unrealistic. Except, I don't know, me personally, I wouldn't let someone I just met fuck raw, but that's just it. I'm not Hachi, I can't entirely understand why she does what she does, but I know people in her shoes can. Some would rather put themselves and their futures at risk to be warm under someone else's body, even if only for a single night. Whether it be purely because of impulsivity or desperation for love, I'm not sure, but in Hachi's case, I think it's a bit of both. But there were alternatives to her situation. She could have, well, I'm not gonna say it, but it rhymes with squirted the baby, but her decision is her choice and I respect it. Not everyone feels comfortable with making that decision, and that's perfectly reasonable. She could have raised the baby with her family. Maybe it would have uprooted her life more than it already was, but I think her family would have accepted her. She could have given the baby up. Also not a decision a lot of people would feel happy about, but could have given her a chance to make sure her child was loved and her life was still somewhat intact. She could have raised it even with Nana if she didn't want to burden Nobu. Nana even offers to play stepmom, and even though I don't think their relationship is perfect, it would have been better than the decision that she ended up making. Except she doesn't make any of these choices. Hachi made her decision to be with Takumi, who is definitely the father by the way, but it's ultimately this choice that causes unnecessary pain for her and other people, including Nana and Nobu. Even though there were more rational decisions she could have made, I understand why she did what she did. Doesn't mean I would, but I get it. Imagine that. All the emotional strain put on her alongside dealing with the humbling realization that ends up shattering her pearly white dreams. I can't imagine what it's like to be in this situation. It was avoidable, but when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to make rational decisions based on logic and careful planning. It's something you see a lot in reality though. Having and raising babies with the wrong people is not new, nor will it ever end, unfortunately. So while people can and should criticize her choices, I don't think anyone can truly understand her situation until they've lived it for themselves. No thanks. Back on track, Hachi's relationship with Takumi after her less than stellar pregnancy reveal is pretty awful. She stays at home awaiting his arrival, cooking, content with the things he buys her and the baby, and their occasional bubble bath together. Still, their relationship is not built on love, but on dependence. He comes home periodically, taking what he wants from her, which is usually sex and maybe company, then leaves again. Despite being lonely and sometimes feeling unsatisfied with their relationship, she stays. When he proposes, it's everything she wanted, and that's bad. A lot of women often cave at the sight of a ring, all because they think it will change the structure of their relationship. Chances are it won't, but when you're in love, it's hard to take off the rose-tinted glasses. Everyone thinks they're ready to make the hard decisions until they're thrown into the situation themselves. Abusive relationships change how you behave psychologically, and most of your decisions, especially those regarding your partner, won't be reasonable. Like, at all. Even after Takumi assaults her, she stays with him because to her, she has to. She deludes herself into not taking this total violation of her seriously, because it's Takumi. Reminder that she was groomed by an older man, and this definitely could have made her accept things that weren't normal, to say the least. Could also be that her previous relationships had men treating her poorly, and the only one that kinda respected her was in and out of the picture pretty quick. She was most likely used to the mistreatment and came to recognize it as tough love. They'll possibly even make excuses for their man and blame themselves for provoking them. Hachi has nothing to look forward to other than the baby, and Takumi is the only man willing to claim the baby and be present, at least in her mind. So, even with her being controlled and abused by him, in her mind, she's already estranged herself from Blast, and she feels utterly alone. Takumi even made her feel like she couldn't go to Shin's birthday party, knowing exactly how much she cared about him. Even in her attempts to reconnect with Blast, the spark just isn't the same, and some instances push her closer to Takumi. Abusive relationships in real life are just like how they are in Nana. You see Hachi constantly being isolated and kept away from her lines of support, then shrinking back into Takumi and the big empty house because those are the only things she thinks she has. I also believe that, like in real life, Takumi means to give Hachi a quote-unquote carefree life so that he can feel justified in controlling every aspect of their relationship. He talks down to her, saying she doesn't understand any of Trap Nest's problems because she's just a housewife. A lot of people, specifically men no offense, encourage their partners to quit their jobs just to end up treating them like a burden when they naturally become dependent. Some may think that just because their partner is not battering them means that they're not being abused and have no reason to complain, but that's not true. Abuse comes in many forms, and while we as readers can recognize it, Hachi cannot because it's not what she perceives abuse to be. It could even be that she twists and contorts her perception of how relationships should be to justify being with Takumi, which is also pretty common. It's a tough, almost impossible situation, and to add kids in the equation is too much. Takumi consumes Hachi's whole life, and though she lets him, there's no justification for how he treats her. Anyway, moving on from that dickhead, let's talk about Hachi's platonic relationships, or at least the one that's only platonic. I talked about Junko before, and I did criticize her for what she said to Hachi right after she had gotten cheated on, but I understand that Hachi is a lot. I've been friends with a Hachi before. It's exhausting no matter how much you love them and want the best for them. Junko genuinely means well, and while this may not be presented in the best of ways, it doesn't make it any less true. Hachi and Junko have been friends since high school, and while they have almost completely opposite personalities, their friendship is decent. It does come with its fair share of shakeups though. Junko is very much a tough love gal, and while it's usually what Hachi needs, it doesn't quite get through to her the way it needs to. They exist on different planes and react quite differently to certain situations, so what would work for Junko most likely would not work for Hachi. Hachi leans on Junko for a lot, and though she seems to drift from her as time goes on, their relationship is still quite stable. Junko usually has Hachi's best interest in mind, so I wouldn't say their relationship is bad for either of them. Still, it is a representation of how Hachi velcros to almost everyone she becomes friends with. This is especially the case for how she is with Nana. Nana is quite honestly her light, her hope, and the fact that she leaves obviously greatly hurts Hachi. Even after Hachi has already had children, and her life, as well as others, have changed a lot, her feelings for Nana have not. The way that Hachi talks about Nana is as if she's the best in the world. Not the best person, but simply the best. Hachi, like she is with everyone else, heavily leans on Nana for attention and emotional support. Except there's just one thing. People don't seem to realize that Hachi and Nana were codependent on each other. They both need each other to the point where, over time, it becomes excruciating for either girl to be away from the other. In a way, they both fill each other's needs emotionally, as they both love each other. Whether it's conditional or unconditional love can be debated. Even so, I think Hachi and Nana are the only ones who can handle each other. Whether this is a good or bad thing, again, depends on your way of thinking. What these two are to each other isn't easy to name. Again, the pregnancy and the choice Hachi makes regarding it shatters a lot of hearts. Nana in particular lashes out after realizing she won't have easy access to Hachi through Nobu anymore. They both idolized each other and held each other on a pedestal. In Nana's case, she was extremely possessive and felt as though Hachi would always be by her side like a loyal puppy. When these idealizations are destroyed, it's quite the shock to her and not one she can accept. It doesn't make it any better that Nana's relationships are the healthiest as well, just like Hachi's. I think Nana also feels bad that she prayed for Hachi to find a boyfriend with long hair, and even introduced Takumi to her, effectively ruining everything. She's insanely competitive and constantly feels inadequate when compared to Trap Nest, believing she'll always be an afterthought when sat next to them. When Ren leaves for Tokyo to join Trap Nest, leaving Nana behind, it ripped her heart in two. When Hachi leaves the apartment they share together to be with Takumi, a member of Trap Nest, there's a very similar sense of betrayal and hurt there. She feels like she has no place in Hachi's life anymore, and the same is felt by Hachi. After essentially choosing a side, Hachi feels like she's not good enough for Nana, or anyone in Blast for that matter. She thinks she ruined their friendship, and this is only dramatized by how strange the relationship dynamic was. Hachi found herself basically crushing on Nana, becoming possessive of her at times and even saying she'd surely fall in love with her, if she was a guy. Their relationship becomes that much more complex when you recognize just how much romantic tension is between them. Like, there's absolutely no heterosexual explanation for this.
You're welcome. See you later. Oh, say hi to Mr. Mizukoshi, 29 years old, for me. I don't want to lose Nana, too.
Hachi?
Everyone I love is being taken away from me. So is this girl gonna be staying with us tonight as well? In case you forgot, I live here too, you know. You can't just do whatever you want, Nana. Two girls doing it. How does that work? I guess Nana would be on top. What am I doing fantasizing about my roommate? I gotta get a boyfriend.
Safe to say their relationship and how it fizzled out greatly hurt both of them. The two originally orbited each other, and now a giant shakeup in the universe caused them to go off axis and drift away. They met and connected by fate, possibly making them lean on each other more than what is natural. Neither one of them can truly stand to be alone, and well, the two are just so much more similar than people think. Opposites may attract, but there's a reason why their friendship works so well despite all the emotions flying around. It's realistic for two people, especially two girls, to find solace in each other and support each other as if they were always destined to be together. It may be what they need, but it doesn't necessarily mean their relationship is the healthiest. Still, their friendship is very touching and made me nearly tear up multiple times. Alright, I'm gonna wrap up this video with one more claim. Many women and girls in real life latch onto people, such as romantic partners, in order to feel like they have value. Societal standards have stated time and time again that a woman isn't worth anything if she doesn't have a man by her side. With the way the world is going now, these sentiments and values have been popping back up like a zit. You think it's gone, but it just pops back up so suddenly that you can't help but feel flabbergasted and taken aback. Nana may not reference this standard directly, but its protagonist, Hachi, is the poster child for how harmful this way of thinking is. Over the course of Nana, not only does Hachi become codependent on her friends, but on men she's romantically interested in. She can't, or at least couldn't, function alone. And the ending she ended up getting was realistic. With all the drama, bad choices, and tragic events, it's no wonder she didn't get her fairy tale ending. Some things can't be taken back, and her choices hold a lot of weight in the manga, just like how they do for people in real life. Still, she was at least able to form relationships built to last, and clearly learned a lot from her immature past self. It's quite interesting to see what she eventually grows into, and if the manga ever continues, I hope to eventually see what she's really capable of. So, TLDR, Hachi may have done some downright dumb, childish things that make you scratch your head, maybe even want to bang it against a wall. But the more you look at her, the more you recognize that she's one of the most realistic characters in the entire manga. And I absolutely love her for helping me understand more about the people that exist that are just like her. And that's that. Nana has one of my favorite stories ever, and it's given me so much more clarity on how relationships work. It's a true work of art, and while it's not perfect sometimes, it's definitely worth the endless conversations. It's genuinely beautiful, exciting, and heartbreaking all at once, so I'm glad I was able to share my thoughts about Hachi with you. Leave your thoughts in the comments and make sure to like and sub too. This is MPG, I'll catch you later. Peace!